alcoholics. I see mama struggle, she got money problems. Every night I go to sleep, I dream of ballin'. I wake up, get the cake up. Wake up, get the cake up, nigga. Wake up, get the cake up. I gotta get that paper, nigga. Wake up, get the cake up. Wake up, get the cake up, nigga. Wake up, get the cake up. I gotta get that paper, nigga. I gotta get it. I gotta get it. I gotta get it. I gotta get it. My duffel bag, it probably got product in it. Why? I gotta get it. I gotta get it. Every time you see me out, I got my pistol on me. Big Shirley and I got a big sister on me. Run your mouth when you miss the mark and they gon' miss you, homie. You ain't solid, that ain't diamond, that's a crystal on me. I got a poker face and the best hand, and I cast all black like the best man. You better think quick, this bitch will sink ships. Genius fix the problem for you, don't trip, just duck cover. The sky falling, I see drug addicts, I see alcoholics. I see mama struggle, she got money problems. Every night I go to sleep, I dream of ballin'. I wake up, get the cake up. Wake up, get the cake up, nigga. Wake up, get the cake up. I gotta get that paper, nigga. Wake up, get the cake up. Wake up, get the cake up, nigga. Wake up, get the cake up. I gotta get that paper, nigga.
Yo, what up, yo? That's my boy, the Genius, man. Houston's Problem. That's Wake Up by the Genius, man. If you wanna hear more of that fire, man, check out the. But today I just wanted to get into some MMA, some UFC 238 in particular, and a review on that, and my predictions for UFC 239, and some of my thoughts on the fighters on both of the cards. I got the chat open. If people want to chime in, please feel free. If y'all been rocking with me for this whole time, or a little bit of the time that I've been blogging, y'all see that I can do it together. I can do it by myself. You know what I'm saying? I can talk all day. You feel me? So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and get into it, man. Feel free to chime into the chat if you want to. For everybody watching, I'm gonna reiterate that throughout this blog a couple times, so I apologize for that, but I just want y'all to be a part of it. So UFC 238, man. Valentina Shevchenko, man. I'm gonna start off with her, man, because she's my favorite. I gotta start off with Valentina, man. She is a beast, man. She got a head kick knockout this event, man, and man, I fell in love with Valentina and her style ever since I seen her against Holly Holm, and she held her own with Holly Holm in that fight. Holly Holm is like twice her size, you know what I mean? And once I seen that, I went to her Instagram and I seen all her pictures and her posing with the guns and all that type of stuff. I was intrigued, man. She's a very interesting character and she's a great fighter. And to see her get a head kick knockout this event, to me, just it just proves that she's getting better. She's still improving. She has more improvement in store. She has more in store for her fans. You know what I mean? For the people who like to watch her, she's not just like being content where she is, which is awesome. Which is what I love from a fighter, man. Like, so she got the head kick knockout on Jessica Eye this event, man. It was I haven't seen Valentina get a finish besides the. Well, I haven't seen her get too many finishes, so it was great to see that. It was definitely great to see that. I love everything about her style, and she's still improving. I think Rose Namajunas even took a couple pages out of her book. It seems like Rose Namajunas is starting to look a lot like her. I think they train together. So yeah, man, I'm interested to see where her career is going to go from here, because she's just. I think at the weight class she's in, she's unstoppable. I think she went down a weight class and she was fighting people that were so much bigger than her in that weight class, and she was holding her own. She's never really got beat by anybody. I guess Amanda beat her in the first fight if she was by decision, but I feel like, and a lot of people feel like Valentina kind of won the second fight, which is impressive for somebody Amanda Nunes' size and for somebody Valentina's size, for her to be able to keep up with her. So she's an intriguing. She's just an intriguing character, man. She's very intriguing from her culturistic dances, from her style seems very stagnant, but she's very good at. It seems stagnant, but she's very good at like small motions to get away from, to avoid certain like attacks and stuff like that, man. She's very intriguing, man. So yeah, I'm definitely excited to see what's next in store for her. Tony Ferguson got the win over Donna Cerrone, which I don't think is a surprise. At this point, I'm starting to feel like Tony Ferguson. I feel like they're making him look almost like a bully. Like it's like they're almost making him look like a bully in a sense, man. Because the guys that they keep putting Tony Ferguson against are just not worth Tony Ferguson. They're not on his level. He's just beating the life out of these guys, and we just like witnesses. You know what I mean? It almost looks like wrong to have these guys that they're putting in the ring with him. We gotta see him and Khabib. We absolutely have to see Tony Ferguson and Khabib as soon as possible. I'm sick of seeing him beat on these guys that are not on his level. I've seen Tony Ferguson beat guys at their own game. People like Barboza and people of such like that. Actually, like, he doesn't care what these guys are good at. He just doesn't. He doesn't care. He will beat you at your own game and beat you at his game. His jiu-jitsu, he's taught by Eddie Bravo, so his jiu-jitsu, his course is top notch. And ain't too many people that can get around that. And on the feet, I mean, they say that dude never leaves the gym. Like, he's always the first to get there and the last to leave. So like, that just lets you know how much work that dude's puts in. And they say he's on a Wing Chun tool like all day, all the time, for hours straight. You know what I'm saying? Like, and you can see that in his fights. You know, the way he catches stuff on the shoulder, and you know, it's a very unique fighting style. It's a very unique fighting style, and it definitely intrigues me. So yeah, we gotta see Khabib versus Tony. That's the only fight that makes sense now, man. Khabib is about to fight Dustin Poirier, and after that, we gotta see Khabib and Tony, like, for sure, man. I don't see any way that the higher ups in the UFC can get around that at all. That's the only fight that's like worth seeing Tony and Khabib in. Like, I don't want to see Tony versus McGregor. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't want to see that. Khabib already like owned him. I don't want to see Tony do it. It's just going to be a similar story. You know what I'm saying? It's going to be a similar story, and I don't want to see it. McGregor needs to fight somebody else. And we need to see Tony and Khabib. That needs to happen. UFC, I know you ain't watching me, but y'all need to make that happen, man. You need to make that happen for the fans, yo. That's the biggest fight. To me, that's the biggest fight in MMA. To me, that's the biggest fight in MMA. To me, period. There's no bigger fight than that, in my opinion. But anyway, moving on. Henry Cejudo, Henry Cejudo with the win over Marlon Morales, man. Yo, Henry Cejudo is really the champ, man. Ain't that something? Henry Cejudo is the champ now. Like, it's wild to think about, man. But he deserves it, man. He deserves it. To come in and beat somebody like Demetrius Johnson that's a crazy feat, man. That's a crazy feat, because nobody has been able to do it so far. I think he lost one time, but that wasn't. I'm not sure that was in his career until now. But to come in and beat Demetrius is crazy. So he deserves everything he's getting right now. He's the champ. I don't really see who's going to be able to beat him since DJ is gone. Yeah, I can't really. I think he's going to be the champ for a little while. The flyweight division needs a little bit more talent. They need a bigger talent pool. And I think they're still growing, just like the women's MMA had to in the beginning. It's kind of like that. You're not going to find too many flyweights. You know what I'm saying? So we'll see where that goes. But Henry Cejudo, man. He's a beast. He's beating everybody. You know what I mean? He's beating everybody. So, and yeah, man. I'm interested to see where this is going. I'm interested to see where his career is going. But other than that, they're talking about those fights there. I wanted to talk about Demetrius Johnson a little bit. Once again, if anybody's watching, feel free to chime in the chat. I will respond to you. You know, if we talking MMA or UFC. But yeah, I want to talk about Demetrius Johnson too, because I don't really see sure he's in another league right now. I haven't really seen his fights in that league, but he's in another league. He left the UFC. But it's interesting why he left the UFC. He said something like, Henry Cejudo just helped me. I think he said something like that. He kind of complained about that. But what's interesting is that Demetrius Johnson has said that about, has done that. He has done that and utilized that strategy in many of fights. So it's interesting that he used that excuse, because I've seen him use that same strategy against people who probably would have beaten him on the feet. Kyoji Horiguchi being one. So I found that very interesting. I want to see where Demetrius Johnson is going to go from here ever since the Cejudo lost. But I don't know if he's going to come back to the UFC, so I'm not really sure. I'm not really sure if I'm going to keep up with him from here, but I'll try. Stylebender. I want to see where Stylebender. I wonder what his next fight is. Apparently, he just got the best of Kevin Gastelum, who I haven't seen many fights from as well, but I have to check him out. They got to get a little more deeper into the newer martial artists. I want to see where Stylebender is going to go, but I think he should be fighting Robert Whittaker soon. I can't really see nothing else, honestly, and I think that'll be a very, very interesting matchup for Stylebender. Stylebender and Robert Whittaker would be great. I think that Robert Whittaker would just be a little bit too much for him. He's just a little bit too nimble and scrambly, and he's really fast for that division. So I think Robert Whittaker is will overwhelm him, but I think Stylebender will start to get the hang of his style in about the third round. He'll win the middle rounds, maybe the second and the third, or the third and the fourth. But I think Robert Whittaker would just be too much for him, man. I think he's gonna win 3 out of 2 rounds. But I would love to see Stylebender and Robert Whittaker. Robert Whittaker is one of my favorite fighters. Period. He had a rough time in the beginning when he was in light heavyweight, I believe, but now that he's down to 185, he's one of the best, man. So I want to see that. I was also interested in Rose Namajunas' future. She took that loss via slam, but she was winning the entire fight. So she's winning the entire fight. Like I said, I feel like she took a few pages out of Valentina Shevchenko's book, but she kind of threw her own spin on it. I think they're good training partners. I think they train together, if I'm not mistaken. If I am mistaken, correct me. But I think they train together. I think that's a solid. They're 2 solid training partners. So they're only going to get better from here, because they're both only trying to improve. So I think Rose is going to come back and she's going to do some damage. Yeah. I'm just going to get into some UFC 239 predictions. John Jones versus Thiago Santos. I don't think anybody has to question that. Honestly, you know what I mean? It's starting to get to a point where certain fights don't even have to be questions, especially somebody like John Jones against Thiago Santos. Thiago Santos is solid, but can I really see him getting over on someone as multifaceted as John Jones? I'm not really sure. I can't really call that one, honestly. But actually, I can't call that one. I think John Jones is going to win that. I think he's just going to overwhelm him with this. He just has too many things to go to. I think his wrestling is definitely too much for Thiago Santos. If he goes to that, I think the fight is. If he chooses to smother that dude the entire fight and tire him out and submit him, or ground and pound him, he can easily do that. If he decides to keep it on the feet, he has the reach and the variety of different strike attacks that he uses to keep Thiago confused, and so I feel like John Jones could just get over him. He could kind of just pick him apart, but we'll see. We'll see. Thiago Santos just came off a crazy knockout, so he's definitely a challenger. But I feel like some of these fights are becoming really easily predicted. Amanda Nunes versus Holly Holm. On paper, this looks like, just because of the recent record, it looks like Holly Holm is probably going to lose. Seeing as how Holly Holm just fought Chris Cyborg, and lost, and Amanda Nunes just fought Chris Cyborg and won, and knocked her out, rather. So I find it interesting. I kind of think Styles do make fights, so I know that can be a deciding factor. But I feel like Holly Holm. I haven't seen too much improvement in Holly Holm since I've seen her come to the UFC in the first place. I haven't seen much improvement from her. Much like we know she's not very good at jiu-jitsu, and I don't think that's going to change anytime soon. Like, she's not really adding to her game, in my opinion. I mean, she adjusted it for MMA. She's getting used to that, but it's not like she's adding to her game like somebody like a Valentina or who's still growing, or Rose, somebody who's still growing. You know what I mean? Or even a Chris Cyborg who's still growing. or Amanda Nunes who's So I think Holly Holm is probably going to take the L that night, but it's going to be an interesting fight because Holly Holm could get a head kick off. She could set her up for that. I think Nunes is going to plan for that, but it's hard to plan for that. I'm not sure if I ever seen Nunes fight somebody who sets up head kicks like Holly Holm. So that'll be an interesting one to fight, man. That'll be an interesting one to watch. I'm looking forward to that one. That's crazy. George Masvidal versus Ben Askren. Jorge Masvidal versus Ben Askren. I got Ben Askren, man. I think Ben Askren is just gonna get a hold of that dude, and he's just gonna overwhelm him. He's just gonna sap the life out of him like Ben Askren does, like a Khabib does. But Ben Askren is a little bit more. I want to say he's a little bit more like tactical. He's not really as like ferocious with the ground and pound. He's more about the actual grappling than Khabib is. Khabib is more like get you in a position where you can't move, and now just ground and pound you until you gotta move again, and then follow you behind your movement. Kind of grappler. Ben Askren is more of like set you up, play chess with the grappling, more or less, and more than a ground and pound type of guy, in my opinion. That's just my opinion, but I think Ben Askren is just gonna be too much for Jorge Masvidal, but I could be wrong. It's my opinion. I think that's a good fight too. Jorge Masvidal just came off a great win. And then lastly is Francis Ngannou versus Junior Dos Santos. That is a crazy one. I think everybody who's in the MMA is looking forward to that fight. But I think we're all feeling the same thing and hoping that it's not going to be a repeat of Francis Ngannou and Derek Lewis. I feel like that's how all MMA fans and UFC fans are feeling about this fight. Like, we're hoping that they both don't come in afraid of each other's power, or Dos Santos doesn't come in afraid of Ngannou's power, and play it too safe. Because that never makes for a good fight. We all want to see a crazy fight here. I mean, my prediction, Ngannou has amazing power. He has amazing power. He has pretty good balance as well. He's good at keeping his balance while he's using that power. So that's very intriguing to me. And Dos Santos just has more in his arsenal. He just has more to offer than Ngannou does, on top of the knockout power. He might not have the same same amazing, unrealistic knockout power, you know what I mean, in his hands that Ngannou has, but he definitely has one punch, one shot knockout power in both hands. We've seen that. So that'll be a very interesting fight. That'll be a very intriguing fight, and I think everybody in MMA is excited about that one. Unless they were disappointed, like I said, unless they were disappointed by Ngannou and Derek Lewis. You know what I mean? But we saw Dos Santos versus Derek Lewis, which is another great fight where Dos Santos got over on Derek Lewis. So and since Derek Lewis and Francis was a stalemate, I gotta go with Dos Santos on that one. I gotta go with Dos Santos because his talent pool is just bigger. He has more to offer. But